Okay. Good morning, class. So Celeste, you wanted to talk about, um, let's see, Express and static server. And then you also wanted to talk about HTML, CSS, because you are entering that part of the curriculum. Cool. Yeah, so I realized, so right now I'm working on the prototype lecture and the object and prototype lecture, which I actually got like a solid 40 minutes to work on this morning. It was amazing. But I realized that actually like HTML and CSS is like the next thing. Like I'll do the prototype this Wednesday, and then next week, I think we need to start talking about HTML and CSS. So I'll put together a lecture on that. So let's just go here and office hours. And it's 2017, October 3rd. October 3rd? October 3rd. Okay. So, all right, let's look. First of all, I just want to make sure. So if we go to curriculum, okay. So let me just do a little bit of research here on, okay, so where is static HTTP server? So this is all right. So can serve a local directory of static files using the node HTTP server module. Okay, great. Well, that gives us a direction. Let's look at the HTTP server module. So the first thing we'll do is we'll make a directory. And we will do an npm init here. I forgot to do my yes. And now we will do a npm install. This is our first save rather than save dev, right? This is our first thing that we're doing for like actual development rather than, or actual production rather than just like development tools. Okay, so all right, so we're going to do a save HTTP server. Was that what it was? No, static HTTP. Okay, so cool. So now let's touch a file static, or we'll just call it server.js because this is going to be a server. And now we'll add them here. All right, cool. And if we look at package.json, we see that we have this dependency now. Cool. And okay, so now let's, so how are we going to learn how to use static HTTP? What would Celeste do? WWCD.
Well, so far I watched the 2 videos that are linked to the static HTTP server module.
Okay, well, I mean, that would be nice if I could just like put on a video and then work on my prototype lecture a little more. But let's do something other than videos.
Let's search static server HTTP.
And I actually, interesting, they actually like come up with the Learners Guild. So I'll go with the static HTTP server node. But what I'm really interested in, I know exactly what I want, right? I want to, yeah, I know you can't really see that very well. I want to know the node module, right? How do you do it? Okay. So there's this. I do like to look at like the official sort of documentation stuff. Oh no, it's not static server. It was HTTP server. So, oh, HTTP server. Let's try that again. Okay. So HTTP server, and ooh, if you want to create a custom server or extend the server class, that's interesting. And then I also like looking at examples. Looks like it's got a bunch of competition. You've got it with the hyphen, without the hyphen. You've got web server. Okay, and then maybe we'll look at this. I do like W3 schools. So, okay, so let's start with this. Sometimes this is not that helpful, but actually it looks like this one is. Sometimes this doesn't have a lot of information, but you know, if it's got a picture of a rocket with a turtle, then you know it's got to be good. Okay. All right, simple zero configuration command line HTTP. It's powerful enough for production usage, but it's simple and hackable enough to be used for testing, local development, and learning. Okay. All right, we didn't install it globally. All right, usage. Oh, it looks like you don't even need a file. You just do HTTP server, and then the path, and then the options. So, okay, cool. And now you go to 8080. Okay, cool. All right, so first let's actually, in here, we don't need server.js. What we need is mypage.html. And let's just call it pets, because why not? So, okay, so we're going to make a pets.html. Fine. And it says that it defaults to public if the folder exists and / if it doesn't. So I'm going to actually make a public folder. I'm going to do this. This is going to be a lot less clunky here. And I'm going to put pets.html into public. So that's where, if I start the server from this directory, the server root is going to be this public directory, because that's where it defaults to. It defaults to this public directory. Okay, and we'll look at options in a minute, but for now we're just going to do it without any options. All right, so I'm going to make pets, and okay, so cool. So have you done this? Like, yeah, and have it make the whole thing for you. Okay, so pets, and for the body, we will just make a table, and we'll make a header, and it'll be name. Oh, we need to make a row. Name, species. Okay. And then, oh gosh, I just wish I could be as good at this command line stuff as Jared. But okay, so I'm going to, I want to duplicate this line. You know, you can always do, I think, command, no, I don't even know, command P, yeah, and then, no. Well, apparently not that one. Okay. Command Shift P, yeah, okay. And now if I want duplicate, okay, duplicate lines, Command Shift D. Nice, okay. So now, oh, and now, okay, so now I want to change all those THs to TRs. So I'm going to do Command D, which just chooses the next one, or not TH, but TDs. And now it's like, oh, they're all TDs. Nice, okay. So Okay, and we're going to Cisco and cat. And then Command Shift D. And we'll do rabbit. And because I happen to remember Rufus the rat, and we'll do that too. Okay, and now we'll, fine. Okay. Okay, so cool. So now let's just do HTTP. What was it? Static HTTP. Nope. I probably have to do /node modules static. Nope. Okay, so server, if I do /server.js, I need to specify a directory, right? Because well, this is not the same as what we saw before. Oh, because this is HTTP server. Which one are we using? We are using HTTP server, not static HTTP. HTTP server, not found. Okay, so now if we do okay, so let's dig around in node modules and see if we can find it. So in node modules, there is a static HTTP. And right, but that server.js, now I'm just getting myself all confused. I think I may have done some like switching of static HTTP and HTTP server. Let's look and see what we actually installed. So we actually installed static HTTP and not HTTP server. Okay, so let's actually install. Let's uninstall static HTTP and install HTTP server. Okay, and I should have done a -- save. Now I'm going to have to remove it manually from the package.json, but whatever. Oh, and I didn't do a -- save on that one. Okay. So, right, now we have HTTP server. And now if we do a which HTTP server, not found. So now I'm going to try the okay. Oh. Oh no, it's it should be in node modules. There is no bin. Modules. Okay. So now I'm going to take this and I am going to put this as my npm start. so that I don't have to remember that. I can just type npm start. Okay, so now it tells me where to go. Interesting. I wonder why it's 8081 and not 8080. There might be something running on 8080 on this computer already. All right, so now if I go here, and it's going to be doing that public, so I called it pets.html, and there it is. So it's a way for me to serve my pages without having to do really much of anything. Like the biggest thing I had to do was find the binary, right? And I have a feeling that that there's a better way to do it than what I did. But obviously, you're not going to add node modules HTTP server. I know that sometimes people add node modules bin to their, and then sometimes like you might link something from bin. All right, I'm babbling a little bit. So I'm going to Control C to get out of this. So I think it's fairly common to, in your path, in your bash profile or bash RC, to add to your path. So so it looks in node modules /bin for anything, so you don't have to like actually find it. But the problem is that I didn't actually get anything in node modules /bin, right? If I look in node modules doesn't even have a /bin. I think some other modules might actually install in /bin, or they don't install in /bin, but they make symbolic links. So let me just check and see if that's true. So I have Mocha. I have a Mocha I think globally installed, but I just want to do a little experimenting. Will you indulge me? So remember the bang ls, the last command I did that was ls. And now if I look, no, there's still no /bin. Let me do a little bit more research on this because I know that there's a way that you don't have to always specify. If you just want it to be in your, it to take the binaries from your installed modules, there's a way to set your path to do that. So let's see. So I want locally installed Mocha find. Let's do npm is the most important thing. Locally installed Mocha find binary. Let's just see what that does. How to use package installed locally in node modules. Okay, let's look at this also. Well, there's this npm run and npm path. That's interesting. And then there's npm run path, Okay, let's see what we get here. Oh, it's .bin, not bin. That's why. Man. Aha. So notice here's HTTP server, and then there's a Mocha also. Okay, so actually now, so let's change that again because we need to make that .bin. No wonder I couldn't see it. Okay, this is feeling a lot better. And do you know why those are purple or magenta? they are not files in their own right. They are links. Yeah, so they are links to the things in their own directory. So, yeah, so basically when you install, it puts all the files in its own directory, and then it puts this link, this sort of alias in .bin, so that when people have their path, I'm going to have to open up a new window to get that bash profile run. I could also actually do source, and now it's been run here. And now if I do which Mocha, aha, and if I do which HTTP server, much better. So now I can just do HTTP server, and I don't have to do all of that rigmarole, which is, I think, what normal human beings who use Node actually do. Okay, cool. All right, any more questions on this HTTP server? Okay, good. All right, so let's start looking into some HTTP and CSS stuff. And you asked what resources I like. I definitely like W3 Schools. I mean, W3 Schools is my favorite HTTP resource. Monica, do you have something to add?
Huh? No, I liked W3 Schools when I started, especially because I feel like documentation is written for people who already like understand how to read documentation. And then I got from recipes that I should try to use like MDN, but I like the
Yeah. Well, does MDN? So Monica was just saying that an SEP gave her feedback that that she should try to use MDN over W3 Schools. Does MDN talk about HTML and CSS?
I think so.
It does. Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm getting a nod from Celeste. I like MDN as a JavaScript reference for sure. And yeah, W3 Schools can be a little bit more colloquial than MDN. Yeah. But I'm just used to using W3 Schools as my reference for HTML and CSS. MDN is more authoritative, I would say. Yeah. So, okay. All right. Dr. Axel Rauschmeier, I think we are going to close you up. Okay, so, and what I would actually encourage you to learn, and I will write a lecture on this and give it next week, is I would encourage you to learn either Flexbox or Grid. And I think Grid is more modern, but may not be supported on all browsers. So let's do some research. CSS Grid. Oh, let's do CSS Grid support. Okay. We're seeing that for the first time, a major specification being shipped in browsers almost simultaneously. We should shortly have CSS Grid layout support in the public versions of blah, blah, blah. Evergreen browsers mean that many of us are going to see the majority of users. They're also older, non-supporting browsers. In this guide, we'll walk through a variety of strategies. Okay, I think this is, was it you I was talking to about this yesterday? Like, this is the life of a web programmer, is you have to like worry about what browsers people are using, right? Okay, but it sounds like it was like adopted by modern browsers. Like modern browsers support it, and that person sitting in their basement, using their IBM CRT from 1995 may not be able to see your page properly. So, yeah. Okay, no offense to people who sit in basements and use IBM CRTs. Okay, so, okay, let's let's start looking into grid because it's actually not something that I've really used. And so I can do lecture research and office hours at the same time. All right, so let's do, I'm going to do W3 Schools CSS grid for now. And then we'll, all right, ooh, CSS fluid grid, responsive web design grid. Okay, let's just start here. All right, so the page is divided into columns. Oh, but no, this is not, I don't want RWD. Oh, responsive web design. Okay, so here's Flexbox, but okay, well, let's just take a look at this and see if this is what I really wanted. Okay, so grid view, the page is divided into columns, fine. It's helpful when designing web pages. A responsive grid view often has 12 columns and a total width of 100% will shrink and expand. Building a responsive grid view. Okay, oh, this looks like, this looks like you're actually building your own grid stuff, which is not what I want. I want so the built-in CSS grid. So let's, yeah, so like this grid columns and grid rows. Yeah, let's look at that. Okay. All right, browser support. Oh, it's not supported in any major browsers. Well, great. Let's just not look at that then. Okay. All right, so I think this is what we want. Okay. But this maybe not. I'm sorry. I'm dithering again. So let's see what let's go back to the master here, the curriculum. And okay, so this is actually, so this recommends Flexbox. So we could just go with Flexbox, but that would be too easy. So well, I got some learning to do, that's for sure. All right, well, it looks like this actually only, so it looks like this actually only is talking about Flexbox. So I guess for now we'll start with Flexbox, but I do want to look into that CSS grid. So stay tuned. Okay, so cool. So let's just do some reading. All right, Flexbox consists of flex containers and flex items. Great. Do you know this already, or me neither? Okay. A flex container is declared by setting the display property of an element to either flex or inline flex. Okay, do you know the difference between block and inline? Okay, block means it takes up a whole line, whereas inline means other things can be on the same line. All right, inside a flex container, there's one or more flex items. Everything outside a flex container and inside a flex item is rendered as usual. Flexbox defines how flex items are laid, that's just too many of the word flex in one sentence here, laid out inside a flex container. Okay, flex items are positioned inside a flex container along a flex line. By default, there's only one flex line per flex container. My goodness. The following example shows 3 flex items. They are positioned by default along the horizontal flex line from left to right. Okay, so here we have a flex container. And here they're just using the CSS inside the HTML. And Okay, so we have a Flex container, and it has this display WebKit Flex and this display Flex, and it's got a width and a height and a background color. Fine. And then we've got an item, and its background color is cornflower blue. How romantic. And it's got a width and a height and a margin. And then we've got inside our Flex container, we have 3 Flex items. Let's try it ourselves. Okay. What if we made 4 Flex items? Does this work? Oh, no, I can't do the okay. So. Okay. All right, so it's sizing things, although interestingly, I do give them a width, but it looks like it's resizing them based on. So what if I do this? Maybe that width is acting as a maximum width. Yeah, so, and if I don't give it a width at all, that's interesting. That's not what I expected. And what if, okay. Okay. Okay, so what is it doing for us? Oh, and I think that the flex part is that, well, it doesn't seem to be flexing much, but what if we went back to 3 items and we had the width, run that, and then we make it smaller. It doesn't seem terribly flexible either, does it? So what are we actually gaining from this Flexbox? You can change the direction of the flex line. If we set the direction right to left, the text is drawn right to left. Okay, well, that's interesting. So here now, fine. And it looks like it also aligns everything on the right. Okay, so I've never seen that direction right to left before, but cool. Flex direction specifies the direction. The default value is row, but other values are row reverse, column, and column reverse. Okay, so here's row reverse. So things are still aligned on the left. Let's do column reverse. Okay. All right, so column, we're way ahead of you, man. Okay, justify content. Properly horizontal aligns when it doesn't use all the available space on the main axis. You can also give it a start, an end, a center, a space between, and a space around. Okay, so this, oh, okay, so these are, oh, I see. So justify content takes all of these values. Okay, so here we have flex end. Okay, fine. Let's do space between. Maybe this. Okay. All right, now we're getting a little bit better. Are you going to be flexible like that? No. Okay, so it's not responsive. Okay. So here's center. Okay, fair enough. I don't think we need to do any more of that. Space between, we already tried. Fine. Okay. The align items. Okay, so now items are stretched to fit the container, or you can position them at the top, the bottom, the center, or the baseline. Okay, all right, so looks like this is some vertical stuff. maybe bottom wasn't. Oh, bottom was one. No, apparently baseline or flex end. Oh, check that out. Okay. And then we haven't given them a height. So I guess the height is just based on the text that's inside. If we did, yeah. Okay. Well, you're definitely thorough, W3. Flex wrap, whether or not they should wrap. If I could actually wrap, I would do it now. Okay, so there's wrapping, there's aligning content, which modifies the behavior, flex wrap. Okay, so so it looks like you just have a lot of tools. Perfect centering, an almost daily problem. Okay, so yeah, so it looks like Flexbox has a lot of tools to lay out your page. So huzzah! And unlike that W3 CSS grid, which was supported nowhere, this is supported, you know, it looks like in all modern browsers. And then I don't know what multi-line Flexbox means. What?
Grid isn't supported in any browser.
Oh, that's what W3 Schools was telling us, that W3.grid was not supported in any browser. And I haven't been able to locate the grid that might be actually supported in browsers. So, yeah. Okay. All right, Celeste, how would you like to use the rest of the time? I can give you some choices, yeah. Okay. All right. So some choices are, we can stop and you can just work on stuff. I can, I keep like trotting out that project that I kind of want to sort of live code for you guys. So that's a possibility. Or we could keep digging into CSS stuff and see if we can find this elusive grid and so forth. So. They can watch if they want. Okay. So let's, okay, cool. So I'm not sure what state it's in, but let's, and I don't know if I was talking to you about this. I think maybe I was talking to Brittany about this and some other like phase 2 people, but so I started this project before, you know, I started this project a really long time ago using Python and Angular. And then when I learned that I was going to be taking this job at the Learners Guild, I wanted to start learning Node. So then I switched it to Node. But that was before I knew anything about Node. So I have a feeling I'm going to look at it now and just really cringe. You know, even my, like, I have no idea what stuff is going to look like. So with that caveat, what I want to work on is the database. In Python, the way I had done it is I used an object relational mapper, an ORM, and that is something that uses object orientation, and so for every table in the database, it makes a class. It makes it really easy to work with data, and especially data relationships. I tried using an ORM in Node called Sequelize, and it was tough. It was not at all easy for me to use. I probably spent a good, 30 or 40 hours on it. And I'm still not thrilled with like the results. So I want to rebuild it just using straight SQL, and not using an object relational mapper. So that's my plan for what I want to do. But a lot of this might just be getting like set up on this computer, but you can watch that too. So, okay. So first I'm going to go to my GitHub page. Okay, and look at that. This is how long it's been since I've worked on it. It's like all the way down here. So here is, it's called Box Charter. And the idea is it's a web app to create box charts for chords and lyrics. So a box chart is something that for every measure, it tells you what chords are in that measure, and then it puts the lyrics underneath. And it's a way for people who play music and know how to read charts, chord charts. It's a way to like have everybody play the same song, even if they don't know it. At least when I started this, I couldn't find a good tool to do this. So I just, I was just doing it myself. So there probably are tools to do it, but anyway. And I also wanted to use Angular. So Clarity is an Angular styling tool, kind of. And then I started using Express, Flask. And then there's like a whole login thing going on here that we'll deal with at some point, possibly. And then there's that horrible Sequelize. And then I tried, instead of Sequelize, then I tried Node Express Bookshelf in Angular. And so, it's basically a learning project for me. So let's branch off of master. So first I need to clone it. So let's go here. Okay, so now if we go into Box Charter, all right, so I have it licensed because it's public on GitHub, and I don't mind if people use it, but I don't want them to make money off of it. Then there's that README, which didn't have much in it. This is magenta. Do you remember what that means? It's a link. It's actually linking to my client node modules because that was the only way that I could figure out to use Angular. And anyway, again, like I sort of baby node. Yeah.
What is a link?
What is a link? So a link is, it means that it doesn't exist here. Basically, all I have is a placeholder that really means this folder.
Okay.
So,
those modules doesn't actually exist in your root directory?
Yes, right, exactly. Only something. So if I, for example, did ls-l, or if I did ls node modules, and it tells me it's a link here too. So, okay, well, it does that. If I do node modules, okay. Oh, I haven't done an npm install, so that's why. So actually, I do have in my notes, I have a very detailed. So let's atom this baby. So in my notes, I have an install, which tells you like what you need to do. So I'm not sure what this create DB, why I need to do that, but fine. If past Bonnie said to do it, I'll do it. Oh, it's create DB. Oh, and it already exists. Okay. Cool. Okay. So I think I did this as Bonnie, like as my Bonnie user. Yeah. There's a lot talking to myself about in the third person. Then Angular CLI, that's the styling tool that I'm, and now I'm doing an install-d. So I would never do that now, but baby node programmer Bonnie decided that was the right thing to do. That's going to take a while. Then I'm going to, this is for my logs. I actually am logging stuff. And I'm logging it in this var log directory because that's where logs generally go. So, and so I'm just making a new directory in there for box charter. And then, oh, do you guys know what this chown is? Do you know, Monica? Yeah, you probably could have guessed that, Celeste. So I want to make sure that my current user, and actually it would be better for me to do this because I might not be Bonnie, but the environment will tell me what user I am. Oh, I've totally killed my computer. Okay, so I can use the dollar user, so that would be better. Okay, and then I do a CD client and then an npm install, and then, well, CD, if I'm already in client, I don't see how CD .. client is going to get me anywhere, so I'm just going to take that out. And I do an ng build. The ng is for Angular, and that's just building all of the Angular stuff, because Angular, I think Angular, this is Angular 2, and I think it uses, I'm totally blanking on the name, but that sort of compiler, it's not WebKit, and it's not Flexbox, and it's not WebBox, and it's not FlexKit. It's, what's that? No. This is no. It's more like so it's all JavaScript. It's actually all TypeScript, but it uses. Why am I totally blanking on the name? It uses that thing that allows you to build JavaScript in multiple files, but then because you know, and like use imports and requires and things like that. Webpack. Oh, Webpack. Yeah, thank you. What's that? Yeah, it uses Webpack. So you have to build it so that it can make JavaScript files that are digestible to browsers. Because like all of the stuff we've been doing in Node, where we get to put everything in separate files and we get to like require them and do all that, browsers don't understand that. So you need to somehow use like Babel or Webpack, or Webpack or something to make it into JavaScript that the browser can understand. Basically, one continuous JavaScript file. So, and that's what this ng build does. Ng again is for Angular, and then I go into model and I create my tables, and then I just remind myself if I'm actually deploying, don't create user, I guess is what I'm reminding myself. Okay, so let's actually, that create tables.js, I believe that's using Sequelize. My goodness. Oh, Angular. But it's interesting. I think actually this is just a bunch of errors. So I'm just going to kill you for now. Because I actually, at this point, don't want to, I don't want to do, I don't want to work on any of the Angular stuff. If I'm doing anything here, I'll do it in React, which I don't know, but you know, I'll learn. But let me actually, I want to do another thing. Do you know what I'm doing here? Yeah, I'm actually, it looks like super user, but I'm actually just like changing to be Bonnie instead of presenter. So now I'm Bonnie, right? And if okay, fine. So I'm my Bonnie user, although I'm still in my presenter directory. Okay, so let's just see what I have here. Theoretically, I had this working at some point. I had that box charter thing. So let's just, and of course, I didn't know what package JSON was when I was making this, so I don't have like an npm start or any nice thing like that. So, I think I'm going to do node server app.js. See what we get. Okay, see what happens. Okay, so this is my, this is generally my, the app, right? And now I have to remember my default login. So hold on just a minute. Let's go back into Atom here. This will tell me, even though this isn't the files that I'm running off of right now. So if we go into server and model, no, it was seed. Have you heard seed before? It's like when you put data into your database before anybody even uses the program, you seed your database. Okay, so in seed, the user that I'm adding, and this is me again being paranoid, putting like the license on everything. Okay, so my name is Bonnie and my password is Bonnie. Bonnie Babani. And the email is Bonnie@Bonnie. Okay, so only slightly self-centered. So Bonnie@Bonnie. Oh, interesting. That says .com, but it looks like I didn't use .com here. So okay, Bonnie@Bonnie. Login. Okay. So I have this successful login. I don't have any charts, but I can make a new chart and I can call this whatever, new chart. Bonnie, of course. Same as composer, and that actually should go away when that happens. But so there's all sorts of fun things going on here. So all right, so I added, because right now it's like bigger than it's supposed to be, but so I added a section, and so this section has a title, and I can put chords and lyrics and so forth, and that's sort of, and then if I say that there are 2 verses, it gives you like, 2 things, and that's where Angular is actually really nice. I'm like, how many measures per row? You want 6 measures per row? Oh, well, it worked at one time. So let's see whether the beats, yeah, so that's 0 beats per measure, and if you want 6 beats per measure, that'll, so they're, okay, so that's the general idea, and then you're like, okay, this measure is C, C is the chord, and it's like, whatever, why are there so many, right? And then you're like, okay, and then it changes to G and songs about rainbows, right? You know the song, right? No? The Rainbow Connection Muppet movie? Oh, you youngins. Okay. Anyway, so that's the idea, and eventually it'll like make it into a PDF, and then you can download it or email it to your friends or whatever. So fine. So that's the app. But it has a database, and it's a fairly complicated database because the database needs to store a lot of different things, right? So if we go into the model, yeah, so I have, right now, this is all done using Sequelize, I think, or I might have switched to Bookshelf, but no, it looks like this is all Sequelize. So that's that object relational mapper I was talking to you about. And so, yeah, and so instead of making a table with SQL, you're actually like making these classes, although you don't call them, you call them prototypes in JavaScript, which I'm working on now, that lecture. But, and then they have methods, and then you export section here. So, you don't like that? Oh, okay. So, right. So I want to leave Sequelize. Sequelize is not making me happy. And instead, I want to make my own tables in using SQL. And then I'm going to make prototypes myself without Sequelize, and I'll make the methods for that. So like this is, so for example, create a new section. So this is actually my section create a new section for this chart with section data. Anyway, yeah, so this actually just creates a new section, and again, it's using SQLize, and then you get chart sections for a particular chart ID, because the way my data model works is that each chart has sections, each section has measures, each measure has chords, and each measure has chords and it has lyrics, right? And then each chord has to be a particular, like I have a note thing, because I also want to be able to transpose, and so so for example, I actually have this add scales, and so my notes, I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then I have my accidentals, and then I actually have just this file that I can read that has keys. So A flat, the tones in A flat. Are you a musician at all? Yeah. So A flat, it's A flat, B flat, C, blah 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 blah. And then of course C is like the nicest key with no accidentals, and F has one flat and so forth. So I have all of this so that I can do the transposition. I actually did a version of this on the command line, where I just read a text file that was specially marked up for me, and it made the PDFs, and it was beautiful. But as I started to learn web programming, I wanted to do web programming. So that's why I have a lot of this sort of like infrastructure and ideas already. So yeah, all right. Well, that's the background that I will have to do again when I talk to the rest of the people. But yeah, at some point we can start just rebuilding all of my tables using SQL instead of SQLize, and we can just work on this as a project together as time permits. I don't know that you guys are going to be in phase 1 for much longer. So, all right, cool. And it's time for Justin. You're welcome.